Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 196. Hey, how you folks doing? I hope you've had a great week. I know you listen to the news and it'd be real easy to slip into a negative spot for the week, but I have faith in you folks. You guys had a great week, and I appreciate you starting off a new one with me. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, I had a great week, great weekend. All's going well in beautiful Arizona shooting. Yeah, I'm not where you hear all those problems. I'm up in the mountains in a cabin, kind of isolated with a bunch of birds, having a great time. Hey, I want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com, for sitting there and sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Now, I needed a certain item before I went on my trip, and, well, things just got a little bit out of hand, and I got behind. I didn't even get my homework done. I sat there and I made a quick reach out to them, said, this is what I need. Next day, wow, really great LED light showed up that you're going to hear about from me later this week. Just boom. They knew what I needed. They got it to me. I'm golden, no stress. So thank you, Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com, for sitting there and coming through again for me. Now remember, when you place an order, be it online or in person or by phone, ask for that Moose discount, MOOSE. They'll give you great knowledge, great prices, and great service. Bedfords.com. Thank you ever so much. All right, let's get right into this week's program. Don't lose that thought. You might be wondering, what has Moose got this week up his mind, you know? Well, so have you ever seen or participated in a criminal class where they're talking about criminology, and the instructor's up front, and all of a sudden 3 people come bursting in the door right in the middle of the lecture. They scream, they holler, they run through the class, they go back out the door like gangbusters, they're gone. And everybody's like, huh? What happened? And then the teacher says, because it's all been staged, okay, write a description of all 3 people, their sex, their height, their weight. You know, what were they wearing? Any distinguishing marks? And it's always, I'm just blown away how, though we have such great recall and memory, we really don't. It really kind of sucks. Another great example, you might be out shooting, and I've done this myself. I've done this and seen it with many other people, and you're kind of like, you're working a certain set of birds, you know, and all of a sudden a bird shows up that wasn't on your radar. Not you weren't thinking about it. You look at it, and you go, I don't know, what is that? And you look at that bird, you go, okay, I'm going to remember these things so I can look it up. And I'll go, okay, quick click, 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 click. And then you sit there and you look at your Sibley's on your iPhone and you go, well, it was this or this. You look at that, only to go back and look at the actual photograph and realize that, oh, it does have eye rings. I didn't see those. I don't remember those. Oh, it does have yellow coverts. And also, the mind's ability to remember things. It's always just fascinated me. Now let's get to color. How well does the mind remember color? Specific color, shades of color, important color. You've gone out and you're for the first time, you're photographing a kitten or a puppy, a grandchild, a loved one. And you're behind that camera, and you kind of throat wells up, and you feel this kind of energy, and a sparkle comes to you. And you take these shots, and you just have this incredible emotional connection to that thing, that person, that landscape. There's an emotional response that is hard to describe, and you say, "Oh, I'm glad I've got photographs of it." And then you get back to the computer, and all of a sudden, that moment of emotion, it's not the same. Have you been there? Have you experienced that? That's that, don't lose that thought in a nutshell. Supposedly, I've been told that we have about a 20-second memory buffer when it comes to things we see, what we visualize. 20 seconds. So in other words, if I sat there and I stare out at a scene and my mind registers this color blue, this color red, this color orange, this color green, and then I sit there and I look at that, then I come back to my computer and that image is on my computer for more than 20 seconds, the reality that was in my memory has now been replaced by what I'm looking at on the computer. Now, you might be saying, so what difference does it make? If you don't really remember, is it important? And that's a really important and valid point you have to consider before you go on and listen to what I have to say. Does it really matter? Is it really important to the person who's going to look at your photograph to be accurate to the emotion you felt when you went click? Now, from my point of view, first and foremost, that concept was pounded into my head for many years when I started shooting. I mean, it was, what was the emotion you felt? Is it in that photograph? And of course, that emotion comes from so many elements, from camera and lens and exposure and lighting, all those kind of things, and color. They all come in together and, when done beautifully, unite into a homogeneous scene that just reaches out to your viewer, grabs them by the shirt collar and says, "This is it." But when you come back, a lot of times, that didn't get translated by the camera. That didn't come through in the photograph. And that's when we often feel like, wow, I thought this was a better morning. I thought that was more beautiful. Well, so losing that thought when it comes to a photograph can be seriously detrimental to everything, especially you're moving the ball forward as a photographer. So how can you avoid that? Well, if I knew that, I wouldn't be doing podcasts or anything else. I would be really rich and famous. And since I'm neither, obviously I don't have the answer. I do have some, and I'm constantly working on them. So I want to share with you some of them I have. The biggest one, and you've heard me say this many times before, but that's why I push myself so hard to get it right in the camera when I go click. And that's especially true for color. Yes, there is no doubt that you can get really close in the computer without worrying about any of this in the camera. They say the same things about atom bombs, hand grenades, and horseshoes. And I don't think I want my photography in the same school as atom bombs, hand grenades, and horseshoes. Kinda, could be me, I don't know. Can we get it exact in the camera? We cannot, a vast majority of the time. We can get really darn close, and then with a couple little twitches in post, pretty much nail it. But there's a lot going on in this whole process. And first and foremost is us, the ones behind the camera. Just to reiterate, remember a couple of things. If you've simply just, had a Coke or a lot of coffee, that's going to change your vision 5 points magenta. If you are excited, because you just got your tax returns, okay, you might be at least 25 points magenta. Your vision could be totally biased, what they call seeing red. And if you're looking at a beautiful sunset, when that email comes in from your accountant and it says, "Hey, by the way, you didn't pay enough," that sunset could look even more vivid than it is. That's part of this. You could have a very specific thing you want to do in that photograph. What if you want to use flash fill, and in this case, you're going to set your white balance to tungsten and your flash gel it so the whole scene looks blue except for the person looks normal because the way your you are literally messing with the white balance. Shows you how important getting the white balance is right in the camera, just doing that exercise. Then you probably really want to make sure you nail it right then and there, because if you've done that technique and you've not nailed it, then you know the kind of darkroom hell you're going to be in for a while trying to make things work and look right. All these factors and so much more, including that thing called passion, go into the color when you're out there shooting. Now, I did an air-to-air 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I've done a couple lately. Anyway, we went out and we launched at a time of day when there's a lot of blue gas out in the air. Now, you might be saying, what is blue gas? No, it's not a bunch of, farting cows, okay? That's not blue gas. Don't go there. Blue gas is the heat shimmer that comes off sage. We call it blue gas because it's got literally a blue color tint to it. So if you're looking over a landscape and you're looking through this, especially at altitude, everything has this kind of a bluish, grayish tinge to it. It's not attractive. Now, if you sit there and try to clean this up in post, it's not really simple to do. It takes a little bit of time. If you use a polarizer while you're in the air, though, you can use a polarizer to remove some of that blue reflection, because that's where it's coming off the sky, hitting that gas, and then you can't see through it. What's the point? Well, you don't want to lose the thought when you start this whole process. You want to think about color before you even go click, because you got to remember that as you go through the process of getting the shot, doing the rest of the day, looking at your images. And I know a lot of people who shoot who don't look at their images until, God, I can't believe I'm saying this, a week later sometimes. And then, your whole entire memory of that event is going to be jaded. And again, I said, is this important? You have to ask yourself, if you want the optimum quality from that photograph, you want the biggest emotional punch from that photograph, the greatest amount of romantic response, if you want that memory to ring true in 5 and 10 years from now when so much water has gone underneath the bridge, you damn straight it's important. It's freaking important. If you're going to have a client who's going to be buying your photographs, especially in the world of commercial, ask a commercial photographer all the hoops they jump through to make sure that color is correct when they go click. And then they go click in the computer to make sure it's still there. We have such busy lives. We have so many things going on, especially you just watch the news for 10 seconds. It's not hard to lose the thought. So one of the greatest treasures that, photography brings is the fact it records our memories. And memories, I'm again speaking for myself, I kind of want to have them as accurate as possible. There's no doubt that I was really naive when I was young, and 20, 25, and I did take notes for a long time. I had lots of notes. I got volumes of notes. And then I'm like, why am I doing this? I'll remember this stuff. And I'd stop taking such copious notes. I took them, but not in volumes. God, that was the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. Well, maybe number 2. It's because memories fade. But that photograph, if you get it right when you go click, the memory won't fade. You've got it right there. You won't lose that thought. And to be honest with you, that photograph is so important to take in the first place because you had to jump through hoops. You had to earn the money to buy the gear. You had to earn the money to go out and do those things. You had to earn the money to spend the time to do those things. You had to come back and finish it. Yes, you put a big value on that. If it's that important, why not just go that one extra stop and get it right when you go click so you don't lose that thought? To me, it's kind of like wearing face masks. It's so obvious, so simple, so inexpensive, so cheap. If we all did it, we get through this thing one hell of a lot faster. And then we'd be going back on to other things much more important than should be wearing a face mask. Let me tell you, Wearing a face mask with a long mustache sucks. It's nothing but pulling and itching all the time. I hate it. I do it anyway. I also do the same thing when I take photographs. I push myself to the very, very edge to make sure I get it as right as possible when I go click, because it's a memory I want to cherish for a long, long time. I don't want to lose that thought. You folks have a great week. Go out there and make lots of great shots. Share those with other people. And remember, every time you go click, make it your story.